So I'm Alan Griffiths. I'm the team lead on the Mir project, which is a set of libraries for building compositors and a few compositors based on that. Also like to walk up the hills in my native country of Great Britain. And I'm a professional and hobbyist software developer. You'll also notice that I drink beer. Today, I'm going to talk about what Wayland is, what it means for the Linux desktop environment, a little bit about what I did on my vacation last year, how that might help out with the Linux desktop environment, and how to try out what I've done. It's just a hobby project, but it could be useful for a lot of people. Oops, that was the wrong button. Yeah. So Wayland is a protocol. It's a way for programs to talk to each other. In this particular case, it's for applications to talk to the compositor that's running the appearances on the screen. And Wayland is going to replace X11. It's going to do it slowly. Well, it has been doing it slowly, but it is a rewrite of X11 by the same people that were maintaining X11 and got fed up with it. They've certainly made some improvements, and by and large, it's doing things right. It's got an extension mechanism that allows extra use cases to be addressed as time goes on, and ways of managing that so that it doesn't break everything in the process. And the server implementations of Wayland are improving and have been getting better over the years. So this affects the desktop environment, getting a bit into how desktop environment works here. Typically on Linux, an X11 desktop will be running some version of Xorg. There have been other implementations of X11 server, but this is by far and away the standard one. And a window manager built on top of that. Now, Wayland combines these two things into one. And there are many servers that implement the Wayland protocol and some form of window management. There's Western, Mutter, Kwin, WLRoots, Mir, and so on. And there are many clients that work with Wayland, all the popular toolkits. And that means that one point I should have made on, I shouldn't keep pressing that button. The well-resourced toolkit development environments, such as GNOME and KDE, are well on the way to switching over to using Wayland. A lot of desktop environments see this as extra work, because they've got to keep up with their regular maintenance and feature development. Do they want to develop their own Wayland compositor? It's got to do all the Wayland protocol stuff, and it's got to do the window management for them. They've also got to migrate all the components of their desktop to Wayland. That's the docks, the bars, toolbars, bottom bars, launchers, and all that all need conversion. It's a lot of work. Let's get back to my holiday. So, as I say, I like walking up the hills in my native country, and this is Yorkshire. But last year, it got very hot, and one day my wife told me that it was far too hot to go walking. So I decided to combine some of my other hobbies. So I was writing some software and drinking some beer. Oops. The idea I had was that since Mir has always been a library for building desktop environment, for building compositors, I would see what was involved in writing something that would work for a desktop scenario. The work with Canonical has been largely based around Ubuntu Frame, which is for Internet of Things cases. It's mainly one application on a screen or two applications on two screens, or just running full screen and not very much window management involved in that at all. So that was the genesis of Miriway. It's an off-the-shelf Wayland compositor for desktop environments. It's got configurable integration with all the things that you'd want in a desktop environment. So things you see, such as the top bars, docks, launchers, and things you don't see, like notification centers. It limits the access to some of the Wayland extensions to privileged components that are recognized as being part of the shell, which allows them to do things that an ordinary application shouldn't, in any sane, secure desktop environment, be allowed to do. It's based on Mir, so that's a nice code base that I know well and is going to be around for a while because Canonical has signed contracts that involve it. Ubuntu Touch and Lumiri is also based on that. You see those people outside. It's only 800 lines of code, which is how I got it done in a day when I was sitting around in Yorkshire. It's there, it can be used as is. People can make contributions if they want to, or they can use it as a basis to do stuff of their own. So it's on GitHub. And this is the way. So this is Miriway running as a snap. You just snap install, and it will come up if you log into your computer, choosing the Miriway session, and you can run it. This is using Yambar, title bar, synapse for a launcher. It finds whatever native terminal you've got. This is GNOME terminal, and it uses SwayBG for the background. But it's configurable. So it can use components from the Sway environment. So that's using the Waybar top panel, a Wofi launcher, again, SwayBG for the background. You'll see a lot of that on these slides. And this is using GNOME console instead of GNOME terminal, which is slightly different. Similarly with Mate. The Mate panel works, the Mate launcher works, Mate terminal works. Some of the plugins for the panel don't work. And really strangely, I don't understand why, it sets the X11 display environment variable to whatever the Wayland display environment variable is, which makes it a bit awkward launching X11-based applications. But I'm sure they'll figure it out one day. A bit more quickly with LXQT. The LXQT runner works, QTerminal works. The LXQT panel doesn't put out any error messages, but it doesn't appear on the screen. I didn't investigate that any further. XFCE, the app finder works, the terminal works. The XFCE panel puts out a message saying it doesn't work on Wayland. So I guess that's a work in progress. It at least knows what Wayland is. And this is the sort of stuff that's in the configuration file that allows you to change between those options. So this first bit says, this is a shell component. It can use those extra Wayland protocols. Miriway on Snap is just to get out of the Snap environment and into the normal host environment. And then you just name the application that you want to run in that context. The next bit is putting some shortcuts around. So Meta plus A will launch the Mate panel with the run dialog in this case. Control Alt and T will run Mate terminal. There's also configuration for things like docking applications to the left to the right, maximizing them, moving to the first workspace, moving to the next workspace, and exiting the program. That's all configurable. In general, it can be used as a daily driver. I almost got to do this demonstration on Miriway, but then I discovered that Impress doesn't scale the screen correctly. That may be a mere bug, it may be an Impress bug. I didn't investigate, I just switched to using GNOME because I knew that would work. It's also used by the Mir team because it's a convenient way to illustrate Mir's functionality, demo new features, test things. So it gets a few drive-by contributions from the Mir team when they think, oh, I want to do that. It's my side project, so it's just GPL3. It's not under the canonical CLA. As I've shown, it can be configured in a lot of ways, and it's available either as source or as a ready-to-use snap. So how do you try it? Oh, features. So things that it's working. It's got a floating window manager, which is the default from Mir. It supports workspaces, configurable key bindings. You can configure the Wayland extension supported for all applications or for shell components. It will support on-screen keyboards such as mallet and squeakboard. It will support remote desktoping over WaveENC. Mir just landed last week is support for hybrid graphics, so it will work on a wide range of hardware. Things that it hasn't got. Mir doesn't currently have a good API for doing things like animations and transitions. So Miriway doesn't either. There's no integration with assistive technologies. There's no integration with portals. But these are all things that could be tackled. Making components from platforms from other desktops work with Wayland. Hopefully you're using a toolkit that has a Wayland backend. Otherwise, it's going to be a lot more work. But a lot of them will have X11 specific cores in there. Sometimes the experience we had when we had a look at some of the Mate components is those cores aren't actually necessary and might actually be obsolete functionality that is not needed. That's the easy case. You can just delete that. Otherwise, you need to replace it with something more generic that also works with Wayland. Typically on Wayland, you don't get support for positioning windows, but there's layer shell extension allows you to do things like anchoring things to the sides of the screen or setting yourself to be the background. So we allow that for shell applications, shell components. And you don't have access to other apps windows, but Foreign Top Level provides a lot of what you'd need for a desktop environment doing that. Here's a full list of the Wayland extensions that Mir supports. You might think, why WL shell, while XGG shell? But this is a snap. It can run on Ubuntu 18.04 LTS. And you'll find applications there that are still using old versions of Wayland. So, how to try it? It's a snap install Miriway. If you log out and log in, you find Miriway on your greeter. The configurations I've shown earlier are all in an example configs directory. These are scripts that will install the components from those other desktops and set up a configuration file to use them with Miriway. Again, this is an idea to start with. It's not intended to be the way to do things for ever and a day. You can also try it using multipath to create a VM. So you need a few things installed. You need multipath. You need a utility called FrameIt, which is another snap that I started on my vacation last year. It's just a convenient wrapper of a lot of scripts for running things associated with testing Frame, and in this case, Miriway. And you also need GVNC viewer or some other VNC viewer. Then there's a magic script on GitHub, also in the Miriway project, that will set the VM up and tell you how to start the server. That's just a, SSH in and run Miriway VNC server. And use Frameit VNC to SSH in and tunnel through VNC connection and run GVNC viewer. So this is just running it. That's a shell where I've just run that script. This is a shell where I'm going to run the script commands it shows. So that starts up the server. If you're looking for problems, this console log will tell you what's going wrong. That starts VNC. And there you have, on your desktop, Miriway running in its default mode. And you can just launch terminals, drop them to the side, and use it without anything having contaminated your main machine. Thank you. Questions?
Hi. So the floating window management policy, how integrated do you think that is with the core of this? Would this be a viable platform to adopt if one would like to implement a tiling kind of window management on top of Wayland?
Yes. So there's an example in the Wayland in the Mir project of doing tiling window management that could be adapted and incorporated into Miriway. And I know that several people have written proof of concept tiling window managers using the same APIs. So it's very easy to put a different window management policy into there. And that's the rest of it is what Miriway really provides. And I'd be very happy to have alternate window managers in there that can be selected and configured while it's running.
Thank you.
No, good one. So how about the animations things that you've mentioned earlier that you just put in one line? Are there any concrete ideas on how to approach those? And is there something that we can, because I personally, I like when things fly around on the screen. When you do animations, I like them blurry. And that's what we do with QtMir, for example, piggybacking on the Qt animation framework. Is there something that we could potentially like solve here together to the point where QtMir doesn't have to rely on its own things, but it could rely on the Mir animation stuff? Is there any concrete idea?
So yeah, it's something that the Mir team in general has been wanting to address, but there have been other priorities, and there are for the foreseeable future. Having said that, it isn't a wide API that would actually be needed to do those things.
Right.
It's just that it's not being exposed.
Right.
You're obviously aware of Mir Oil,
Of course, yeah.
which is a library that enables Qt to do this. But that seems a bit of a sledgehammer as it completely replaces all the event handling and window management in Mir. And I agree, there's opportunity to do something more elegant there.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Something like, so for complex zoomies, something like QtMir is probably the right solution, but a better version of QtMir. Like where your Mir is not going to have a really fully featured scene graph and shader generator and all of the stuff. You're not going to get a full toolkit. We are not going to write a full toolkit. We will happily let you integrate a full toolkit because they have all of the nice stuff. But we should be like, it would be nice to have it in a better way, like to refine QtMir, basically. Will get you to really nice animations.
I wanted to ask how it compares with original Mir, especially about the performance. So how the Wayland with the Xorg thing, how it works in this case.
It is the original Mir, except that we've been developing it for a couple more years. So you're talking about the Mir client API that was dropped some years ago. So that was a different philosophy of communication, but it was really just the communication between client and server. It wasn't really affecting the performance of compositing either in the client or on the server. So it doesn't really make a difference.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you all.